Alright, so full disclosure before we start. I went into Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy expecting to hate watch my way through another mediocre superhero cash grab. We've had a rough few years of those, and I want to be upfront that this game surprised me more than once. Though not always in the ways the marketing promised, this is Eidos Montreal's 2021 take on the team, completely disconnected from the MCU, which honestly turns out to be one of its smartest decisions. Let's actually dig into why. Eidos Montreal has a strange resume. Deus Ex, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and now this. Square Enix published it, and it came out into a market that was frankly exhausted by Marvel and Avengers branded content that overpromised and underdelivered. So nobody was really expecting much. What we got instead was a fully single player story first game with no live service nonsense boiled on, running on the Dawn engine and leaning into a comic booky style look instead of trying to look realistic. That's a choice I respect, even before we get into whether it works or not. So, the review is going to be the same format as always. We are going to be reviewing this game under 5 different categories: story, world generation, mechanics, graphics, and bugs and glitches. Then we will have a final score out of 10. Let's get into it. So let's start with story. You are Peter Quill, and within the first 10 minutes, the Guardians have already bankrupted themselves and accidentally kicked off an intergalactic crisis. Classic them. What struck me pretty quickly is that this isn't just a quip Marvel humor for its own sake. There is an actual rhythm to it. Jokes land, then the game yanks the tone sideways into something quieter and heavier, and it does that transition better than most games with triple the budget. The dialogue system deserves a mention because it plays a bit of a trick on you. It looks like a branching choice system with dialogue wheels and campfire chats, but the major plot beats barely move no matter what you pick. I know that will bother some players, and honestly it bothered me a little too at first. But once I stopped expecting Mass Effect style branching and just let the conversation be about character rather than plot, I actually appreciated it more. Drax being painfully literal, Rocket hiding behind sarcasm, Gamora keeping everyone at arm's length, none of that ever feel like it's just there to check a box. My one real gripe is pacing in the back third, where the game starts stacking cosmic threat of the weak moments a little too quickly to let anything breathe. It never derails the experience, but you can feel the writers reaching for the next big set prize instead of trusting the smaller characters' beats that made the first half so good. Well, in terms of story, I will still give this game a solid 8.5 out of 10. That is a pretty strong suit that this game had. Now let's talk about world generation. Let's be clear going on. This is a linear game, corridor to corridor, and there is no open world hiding here. If that's a deal breaker for you, I get it. But hear me out first. Nowhere. The giant severed celestial head the game uses as a hub is genuinely one of my favorite locations in a superhero game period. It's dense, it's a little grimy, and it feels inhabited rather than decorated. Where it loses me a bit in the middle stretch of the game, where a couple of levels start to feel like corridors dressed up with scenery rather than places. There is not much reason to backtrack, side content is thin, and a couple of more industrial or ship interior levels blurred together after a while. It's not bad, it's just less distinct than the game's best moments, and that gap is noticeable. So, mixed feelings here. When it's good, it's genuinely memorable. When it isn't, it's forgettable rather than actively bad, which is its own kind of disappointing given how strong the highs are. So in terms of world generation, I'm going to give this game 7 out of 10 unfortunately. Let's start with mechanics. Now you directly control Star-Lord, dual elemental blasters, a jetpack for dodging around, the works. While the rest of the team fights alongside you as AI companions you can call in for specific abilities. Drax slams, Gamora dashes in with her blade, Rocket lobs grenades, Groot binds enemies in place. On paper it sounds like a lot and there is a decent amount of spectacle to it. But I'll be honest, the combat is the weakest of the 5 pillars for me, unfortunately. It looks busy on screen, but the actual input depth is fairly shallow. You are mostly cycling cooldowns rather than making meaningful tactical decisions, and normal difficulty rarely pushes back hard enough to punish sloppy play. The hurdle mechanic, where you rally the team with a pep talk and a needle drop, is a fun idea and a nice tonal beat. But functionally, it is a glorified damage buff dressed up in a music cue. It's not bad mechanically, I want to be fair about that. It's just clearly not where the studio's effort went. The traversal puzzles are simple, the upgrade trees are there mostly to give you something to spend currency on rather than to meaningfully change how you play and combat encounters. While flashy, rarely demand much from you. Competent, but it is not a highlight. Rating for the mechanics is going to be 7 out of 10 again. Let's check out graphics. This is where I will give the team unreserved credit. The art direction goes all in on a bold, saturated comic cover look rather than chasing photorealism, and it is aged noticeably better than a lot of its 2021 contemporaries because of that choice. Neon drenched skylines, exaggerated silhouettes, cosmic backdrops that actually look like something out of a Marvel panel. It commits, and that commitment pays off. Facial animation during the story beats is genuinely strong, which matters a lot given how much of this game rides on character movements landing. Lighting does a lot of heavy lifting too. There is a real sense of place in some of these environments that a lot of bigger budget games don't bother with. It's not flawless. You spot some late texture pop in and a handful of enemy types get reused more than I like, but these are small complaints against a genuinely well realized visual identity. If nothing else, screenshot mode is going to have a field day with this game. So in terms of graphics, I'm going to give this game 8 out of 10. Now let's talk about bugs and glitches. After the last 2 reviews on this channel where I spent a good chunk of the segment listing patch notes and pathfinding bugs, it's genuinely refreshing to say this one launched clean. No always online requirement, no microtransaction storefront staring at you from the main menu, just a finished single player game doing what it says on the box. I hit maybe 2 or 3 major hiccups across the whole runtime, a bit of clipping in a cutscene, a stutter during a busier fight, nothing that ever pulled me out of the experience or cost me progress. For a game with this much cinematic ambition, that's a genuinely solid technical showing, and it's worth calling out when a studio gets the basics right. So, for bugs and glitches, I'm going to give this game, once again, 8 out of 10. Now comes the final verdict. So where does that leave us? Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is a game that clearly knew what it was good at and put its resources there. The writing and the visual identity are doing most of the heavy lifting. The combat is fine without ever being exceptional, and the world design swings between genuinely memorable and merely functional. That's not a knock so much as an honest read of a game with a smaller budget than its name suggests, punching above its weight in some areas and settling for good enough in others. If you're a fan of the team and you want a story that actually respects them outside the MCU shadow, this is worth your time. And honestly, worth full price if you can afford it. Just walk in expecting a tightly written, linear cosmic road trip rather than a combat showcase, and you will have a good time. It's not the second coming of superhero games, but it is proof the genre can still surprise you when a studio actually cares about writing. So, the final score of this game is going to be 7.7 out of 10. And here is the category background. Once again, let's check it out. Story 8.5, World Generation 7, Mechanics 7, Graphics 8, and Bugs and Glitches 8. So this game has done exceptionally well in story mode, story parameter. That is it for this one. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff, but genuinely tell me in the comments if you agree with the score, because I know some of you are going to think I am underrating the combat and some of you are going to think I am way too generous on the story. Either way, let's argue about it down there. Until next time, I am Groot, and so apparently is half my chat whenever I mention this game. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching this video, and make sure to like this video, share it with your friends and relatives, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll see you guys in a next amazing game. This video officially confirms that Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is completely finished on my YouTube channel, and now we are going to leave this game. We are going to officially go ahead with bye bye, and then we'll start a new game on this channel. That's it. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. I will see you guys in the next series. Take care, everyone, and bye bye.